So we'll give it another couple of minutes for everyone to join.
Sure.
We have a few people joining now. So I'm putting the registration link on the chat now.
Yep.
So those of you joined, please click on that link and fill in the registration, please. So today we are going to use the live stream through YouTube, and our chat interactions will be through Slack. So there is instructions on that form. So when you click on the registration link at the bottom of that, there is a link to register on Slack. Please register on Slack and say hi. We are on the AppZ Workshops channel in Slack. Once you log into Slack, you will see that. So we'll give it another minute and we'll start.
Can we post the Slack sign up also?
Give me a second. Yeah, post to the Slack link also. So the first link that I posted is the registration form, and the second one is for Slack. So when you go to the registration form, there is the link for Slack in there. So if you missed that, you can come back and use the second link to register.
And just to mention that for registration, we are requesting you to fill up your name, email address, your Git ID. Git ID is important because we will be requesting you to fork a project from eCloud Control and in your Git repository and deploy it on the Kubernetes cluster.
All right, so let's start. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. So today we are going to learn how to deploy WordPress on Kubernetes. During the next 90 minutes, we're going to show how to do a low-touch WordPress deployment on Kubernetes using our platform AppZ. And joining with me is Sanjeev. Sanjeev, you want to kind of introduce our workshop today, and you?
Sure. So I'm Sanjeev Kumar. I'm head of product at Cloud Control. And today we will be covering the WordPress deployment. WordPress is one of the most popular websites I just heard today that there are almost like 2 million deployments, and um, and WordPress, as you know, that it requires persistent store, and it has the credentials. So we will be doing 3 deployments, starting with a vault, which is Hashicorp Vault, which will where all the secrets will be stored. If you generate a password, that will get stored, and you'll see that how those things are happening. Then we will be deploying a MariaDB. We call it like the master database because we have this MariaDB running in the master and slave model. But today we will be covering just the master part, and with a WordPress user getting automatically created using the GitOps. And once these two are done, then we will be deploying a WordPress application with your. We have like selected a couple of themes, but you have ability to change the theme also. That is the fourth part, which you can add some plugins if you want to. If you are familiar with the WordPress application, or you can change the theme also. We have some default themes which will be there for you to deploy.
Awesome. So about the theme, Sanjeev. So we have 2 themes that we are going to cover during this webinar, but they are free to change to another theme if they want to, right? So
That's
we'll
correct.
know how to do that without actually logging into the WordPress and doing a low-touch deployment, correct?
Yeah, the whole idea about why this workshop we are doing is that as a developer, as a WordPress developer, you want to deploy WordPress application in the community, and we want to show you that you don't have to know the complexity of the cloud or Kubernetes to deploy a WordPress applications, complete a stack that you listed here on the cloud and on the Kubernetes platform, where the deployment that will be happening today will be on a Kubernetes cluster running on AWS. We'll have some details there, but I just want to give upfront that what where the deployment will be happening. It will be on the AWS. It's a 2-node cluster, 1 master node plus 2 worker node, and all maybe 20 of you will be deploying in your own namespace. It's a kind of like the Kubernetes isolation concept, and your all the 3 applications will get deployed. And this cluster is built using our product called AppZ, which supports Kubernetes and supports the complete CI/CD, the pipeline as well.
And it's available for beta in AWS Marketplace, right? So if somebody need to, if they like the platform, if they want to be our beta customer, can we onboard them, and what does the process look like, Sanjeev?
Yes, so we are on AWS Market. But before that, if you want to join our, you just send us access and send us your account ID, AWS account ID, and we can whitelist you so that you have a routine. And AppZ platform itself, you will see that within half an hour, you will have a production grade Kubernetes cluster up and running with a dashboard, we call it like interface, which is ready for GitOps. So we will be sharing the dashboard, and you can see that how that dashboard you can build on in your AWS account within half an hour. We have webinars, like if you look up our Cloud Control YouTube channel, there are webinars available which shows that how you can build the Kubernetes platform with the AppZ in the AWS cloud.
Right. And the YouTube channel in the live telecast that you're watching now, or live streaming that you're looking at now, it is in our channel. Please do subscribe. So, for example, coming weeks, we are going to cover other areas. Like, for example, we are targeting next week for microservice development using Python, and how to deploy that into Kubernetes using a low-touch model. So let's move on to the next slide, which is kind of what we are going to do today, right? So since you want to kind of explain what we plan to do, how this works behind the scenes.
Sure. And before I do that, I just want to make sure that you have taken a look at the links. Those links Rajit has already posted. One link is to sign up, and make sure that you sign up and with your email address, your name, your Git ID, so that we can start setting up your account to participate in the workshop. And another is for the Slack, and make sure you join. Because most of the communications you will be having with our team using the Slack channel. So to tell you a little bit about AppZ platform and AppZ stacks, you are like in this workshop, you are in kind of like you are wearing the developer's persona, and that is where you are. And we will be giving you all the tools to deploy a application, which you can definitely we will be forking from our eCloud control repo, but you have ability to change that. You can add more your own plugins, you can add your own passwords, you can add your own themes, like those things you will be doing. And using a simple GitOps process, and to explain you that how that will work, you would be able to deploy on the Kubernetes platform, which is on the right hand side. And as I explained earlier, this Kubernetes cluster is running in AWS uh, on the three node, one master node and two worker node. Now, how all these things are happening is through the magic of AppZ stacks. AppZ stacks are, I would say, like curated, like in this case, WordPress, MariaDB, and the Vault images, and our AppZ platform, which is like GitOps engine, takes the changes from your Git repository. The changes in this case would be, say, you are deploying the WordPress application, it would be the theme that you have selected, the plugins that you want to deploy, and gets merged with the WordPress app.js stacks, which is a content, which is a image, Docker image, and you'll see the beauty of it in terms of like it is not a simple WordPress image. It has complete layer of the logging monitoring capability enabled, and the platform takes the stack, takes your code, merge it together, makes a new image, stores in the repository, stores in our registry, and deploys on the Kubernetes cluster. Once deployment is done, this whole lifecycle is visible from our observability, what we call as AppZ Dashboard, and and you can also have the day two monitoring, meaning that once the application is up and running, you can see that how the logs are getting generated and what the logs are saying about the health of applications. So you can show all the details through our AppZ Dashboard.
Awesome. So that means if today we're going to deploy MariaDB and then we are going to deploy WordPress. So all the backend logs that are written by both these components, I'll be able to see it on our dashboard using the Elastic-based log collection that we already have, right? It's fully integrated.
That's correct, Rajat. And the whole idea is that if I'm a WordPress developer, I don't need to know about or I don't need to interact with underlying infrastructure in more privileged manner. That means like I log into the infrastructure, make some changes. We want to avoid that. We want developers to focus on their code, which they are good at, be it WordPress, be it Python, be it Java, Node, whatever they are like good at. They should be able to consume the underlying infrastructure, which is the like the VM machines and the networking and storage, and as well as the underlying technology, which is the Docker Kubernetes, seamlessly. And that is where our AppZ platform, which masks the complexity of uh, the underlying like cloud, and the AppZ stacks, which mask the complexity of the underlying like technology, like the Docker Kubernetes. You don't have to generate like a complex YAML to do the deployment. We are doing that for you. That's why the whole power of the AppZ platform and AppZ stacks come together.
Awesome. So Sanjeev, we talked about the AppZ stacks. So can you talk about the, when we look at the MariaDB and the WordPress that we are deploying today, I know we are deploying only one instance today, but can we talk about the resilience that the AppZ stacks can bring by having WordPress and MariaDB deployed multiple instances?
That's correct.
Can we talk about that and how easy that is, or how do we do that in this platform?
Very good question. So let me start with apart from the result, let me start about the security, because that's the paramount, and especially when you are moving on the cloud and you are no longer your application is no longer running in the four walls of the organization, then you are out in the wild. And what we are providing is that and we have seen the bad practices happening, people keeping the secrets in the Git, and those leaks out and cause the damage to the individual as well as the enterprise. We bring a platform which is the secure from the day one. None of the secrets are there in the Git repo. we are already providing you a secret to store to start with to store your secret. So that's the first part, and you will see that. Now coming to resiliency, right now we will be deploying MariaDB master only, and the reason and is maybe it's lack of the time. Definitely, if we could, maybe the next workshop we will show you a full resilient deployment of the MariaDB in the master slave model, and we also have the what you call is the backup capability. So once the MariaDB is up and running, there will be a backup happening every on a regular interval, and that backup will be in the separate storage volume. So we have full resiliency and HA baked in from the what you call is the stateful image perspective, and that you will see part of it. Now, some of the technologies that we are using are underlying like Kubernetes technology. If you can have the multiple replicas, we support all this through a very declarative format, and those things you can specify in the declarative what you call it the AppZ YAML. Very simple configurations. You simply embed that file in your repository, be it application or the infrastructure configurations, and we will take care of you as per your request to configure the infrastructure, deploy the applications, and you have the full audit trail that how those things are happening from AppZ Dashboard.
Awesome. So let's move on to the next slide. So let's talk about the registration. Please use this link. I shared this link on YouTube as well. Once you go through this process, you can switch to Slack so that you can chat with us. So I'm going to share my screen and I'll show you this form. So I'm going to share now.
And just to highlight that again, we are requesting your Git ID because we want the applications to be forced to get. In case ready, I would say that you hold off and watch the workshop. And if you want to participate later, once you have the Git ID, contact us through the Slack channel. This environment and our support, like the Slack channel, will be live for next 48 hours. You are free to contact us there, and we will help you deploy your applications on this platform.
I'm filling the form now, and I'm going to use I'm going to use Git ID and user ID the same, so just to reduce confusion. So and then click on this link here to register on our Slack. So please follow the instructions after you click so that you can register. And say once you register, please say hello on our channel. We are on AppZ Workshops channel in Slack. And once you do that, check this box and hit submit. So again, let me share the.
And just one more word, like just to avoid the confusion. Your Git, not your the email setup for the Git account. This is your GitHub ID. So make sure you submit that, and because that will help you, because we will be asking you to fork in your repo, and we will be creating an exclusive kind of like the namespace for you based on your Git ID. That's the reason why the Git ID is important. You can keep your user ID also same as the Git ID. User ID is something you will be like able to log in from our dashboard, and we will be sending you a link for that.
And once you sign up, just say hello in Slack so that we know that you joined. I can see folks are joining now. So let's give it a few minutes for everyone to get the sign up done or registration done. So Sanjeev, well, I can see others are joining now. So once we start going, so the the Git ID and how the namespaces are. So we are using a multi-tenant Kubernetes, right? So in a typical multi-tenant Kubernetes, how does it work behind the scenes in terms of who gets to deploy, and how we are securing the different tenants, and also how are we making sure that they each of them get their own different URLs to test their application.
Yes, so let me explain at a very high level. So say 20 of you are deploying on the cluster during the workshop. Each one of you, and it's the same cluster. It's one master and two worker nodes. So all your deployments will be going on these two worker nodes, but in a different namespace. So namespace is the Kubernetes way to isolate the workloads. So all the three workloads, which are Hashicorp Vault, MariaDB, and WordPress, they will be deployed. So three applications will get deployed. One like a container for each on in your namespace that will be exclusively created. Now, this namespace is completely isolated from other the namespaces where exactly the same three set of applications will get deployed. So this is the Kubernetes way of isolation, and this is how even if within a giant cluster, and if the cluster could be as big as 100 or more than there's a big number out there, those many nodes, and and like a lot of enterprise are running a single cluster to manage say dev, QA, and prod, and they are completely isolated logically. Physically they are together, but they are completely isolated. That's a Kubernetes concept. You can also isolate as well as protect the resources. You can say that 60% of your resources will go to the prod, the context, and the remaining 40% just get distributed between the dev and UA. And these are the Kubernetes concept. We offer the GitOps to set up these things to kind of manage the cluster. The right out of the box, like where you are deploying today, it's a kind of like the linearly distributed. Everyone gets to deploy the three applications in their own namespace, and their applications will not interact with identical applications running in other namespace. So that's one thing. And then we also isolate at the user level. So you will have ability to see only your applications getting deployed. That's the entitlement. That's our AppZ platform brings. So you will see that first you log into our dashboard, which you're going through the process via activation link. You will see a blank screen, no deployment, and as you progress through the workshop, all the workloads will getting deployed. So let's kind of move ahead on.
Okay. So I'm going to do the activation now. So everyone who signed up or registered, you will get an email. So I'm going to share my screen. I'll show you a sample email that I got. So here is the email I got. So this it comes from AppZ Workshop, and it has a link. So just click on the link to register. So I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to put the email ID, confirm the password, and my ID is already there, so I'm not going to activate it, but you can go ahead and activate. And then you should see the screen, something like this. So this is what you will see. So there's an empty dashboard saying that your registration is or activation is done, and you're seeing there are no deployments yet. So you're going to see a blank screen with no data to display.
And as I see, based on the Slack channel, I see some of you are waiting for activation link. So check your spam folder also. Sometimes based on your email configurations, the mail which is coming from AppZ Workshop may go to the spam. So take a look there, and if you find there, click on the link to activate your account. And if you have still issue, contact us on our Slack channel.
So I activated it. So I have nothing here now. So you should see this when you complete your activation.
And the screen that Rajit was showing is our AppZ Dashboard, our observability platform. And this is where you will see all your applications getting deployed, as well as you will have ability to look into the performance characteristics of your application, as well as all the logs that are getting generated at the application. So what we are trying to bring here is a low touch model. You don't have to log into the interface. You don't have to know the complexity of Docker community and the cloud to start using the cloud. You are one of the best WordPress developer. uh, why don't and why you need to have additional things to kind of like be more productive. A lot of like enterprises are facing this challenge. They have talented developers, but does everybody need to become AWS or Google certified to start using the cloud? The answer is no. We are trying to bring a Lotus platform.
All right, we'll give it a few more minutes for folks to register. So I think there are a few more to complete the registration. So we'll give it another 3 minutes and we'll move on to starting the first deployment, which is Vault. So Sanjeev, while we're waiting, can you talk about how Vault is integrated and what is the importance of having a low-touch Vault environment? And this is the Hashicorp Vault we're talking about, right?
No, that's correct. So the first deployment, and as I was mentioning, that security is something that is ingrained in our product very much. We take we take security very seriously, and I think this may be because Rajat, myself, and the whole team who have been building this platform come from a financial services industry background, and there the security regulations, audits, like are very paramount. And so what you will be deploying would the first image would be the Hashicorp Vault, and this is the open source having Hashicorp Vault plus our layering on top of that. When you say our layering is we layer kind of like the logging, monitoring, and the alerting mechanism, and make the also like do the all sort of a scanning that we do for all the images. We have close to 100 plus images. Hashicorp Vault is one of them. WordPress is another. MariaDB is another. MariaDB Slave is another. This way, we are making most of the open source and even the commercial products. We add a layer, and that we call our stack engineering, to make the image more robust, more resilient, and easy to use directly out of your Git repository. So the first image you will see the deployment, and once you go to the repo, I will explain a little more that how that image gets used. And we as part of the deployment, one more thing that you will see, and I want to give you a heads up that all the properties that gets used by any application, and Vault is one, MariaDB another, we externalize it and make it available in a declarative way to change it. That's another beauty we have. The idea here is that we do not want you to. Most of the software will say that, yep, you install the software and then you start making the properties file changes to do that. And for that, you need to have privileged access to make the changes. We want to avoid that. We want, and that's the reason we externalize like most of the changes in the properties file. Properties, not exactly file, properties section of the app YAML that you will see. And this we do for the applications also. So if you are deploying a Tomcat or Spring Boot applications, we would ask you to externalize all the properties in your applications and put it in the properties section of app YAML, and those will get used at the runtime, and you will see the beauty of that. So coming back to Vault, it's a Hashicorp Vault. It's one of the premier secret store. You can store secrets. You can store your certificates and all. And we give an easy way to deploy Vault in your namespace, which is an isolated like the context within the Kubernetes cluster. And this secret store is exclusively available to you only to store your secrets for your applications. And we go one level further, like MariaDB Master and and App WordPress. These two are separate applications. They will also not share applications secret with each other. So we granulate security, make sure that it's fully tight and nobody can kind of like the tinker it. So that type of control we bring, and as you do the deployment, you'll also see that you don't have to create the password all the time. Many times, like MariaDB root password, you don't need to know. In that case, you simply like auto generate it. So we have the auto password generation mechanism integrated in the Vault, and that is what we will be using today.
All right. So let's move on to the Vault deployment. So can you walk us through what we are going to do, and I'll share my screen and do the same.
Yes, so you are seeing that eCloud Control Vault repo on the github.com that you are going to fork. Once you fork the repo, you will be like doing the webhook. Webhook is the way to integrate with our AppZ platform, which is running in AWS on a like one master and two node Kubernetes cluster. So the webhook URL is there, and we will be posting that on the Slack channel as well. And once the webhook is done, then at the time of webhook setup, you select the content type as application JSON, not the XML one. We will walk you through that. And then you will be making the changes in this simple manifest file called AppZ YAML, only two parts. One is the notification. You put your email address where you will be getting the emails, and the deploy context is your Git ID, because we will be creating a namespace by your Git ID, so that you change and then simply commit it, and you will see the magic happen.
All right, I'm posting the link in Slack. That's a Vault. I'm going to share my screen now. So here is the repo. And what I'm going to do is fork it into my account. So I'm going to pick Rajat, and it's going to fork now. So once it forks, I'm going to go to the webhooks under settings and add a webhook. And I'm going to give you I'm going to post the link in Slack. I'm going to paste it here as well. And then change the content type to application JSON, and then hit add webhook. So now the webhook is added. At this point, this repo is ready to deploy to our cluster. Now all I need to do is go and edit the YAML file. So here is the YAML. I'm going to open the AppZ YAML, and I'm going to make 2 edits here, right, Sanjay?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm going to change the email to mine. And I'm going to change the context to match my Git ID. And as you can see, this needs persistent volumes, and it's automatically allocated and mounted as part of this deployment. So I'm going to commit now. So I made, let me highlight the changes that I made again. So this is the first change I made. The second change is context. So I changed this value to match my Git ID.
And let me just highlight that the image template that we are looking at, that's the image that we are talking about when as a AppZ stacks. So this image will get pulled from the AppZ stacks repository, and the changes that you are submitting in terms of the volume name and in terms of the properties, see, enable auto password is true. That's the thing I talked about. So in this, what it will do is that if your application has a lookup of a password from the vault and it is not there, the vault will generate it for you. And others like pod that we are deploying one replica, ports are open. You will see this consistent, a very simple declarative format to deploy the applications and all the configurations directly from the Git repo.
All right, I'm going to commit now. So again, highlighting the steps I did. I went to ecloudcontrol/vault in github.com, cloned the repo, and added the webhook into the new cloned repo, and then edited the AppZ YAML, updated the notification email and the deploy context, and hit commit. So now if you go to the dashboard, you will see that Vault is already deployed. And Sanjeev, you want to kind of highlight what we are seeing here?
Yes. So what you're seeing here is that Rajat has deployed Vault under his own the context, and as he logged in initially there was no application. Now it is deployed, and the webhook kind of like pushes the changes. The AppZ stacks Vault 1.2 that gets merged with the changes that Rajat made in his AppZ YAML and getting deployed. Now there are three sections I would say that we have. One is the build, deploy, and monitor. So why don't we quickly walk through each section, Rajat?
Okay. So this is the build log. So you can see that I just triggered, and it automatically triggered the build. And this is the build log. So you can see it is pulling the repo and actually creating the container image and tagging it and putting it in a repository. And then at the end of that, it will give you a summary saying, a build is complete. Now, if there are any errors during the build, you'll be able to see it here. So you should be able to troubleshoot. Like, for example, if you had made a mistake in the AppZ YAML, or any issues in terms of resource constraints, things like that, you'll be able to see the errors here. Anything else you want to highlight here, Sanjeev?
Yes, I would like to say that the power of build process, which happened in the CI/CD pipeline, may not be visible directly from here, because in this case we are simply taking the changes, which is the AppZ YAML configuration changes, merging it with the AppZ stacks, Vault, and deploying it on the Kubernetes cluster. But as you progress along, maybe the WordPress, you will see the true power of the build process. And if you watch our previous, like last Friday's workshop, where we deployed that was a Spring Boot application, and there you can see that the entire repo which gets built, which was a Maven build, and got deployed. So we follow a consistent pattern whether you are deploying in applications or deploying infrastructure changes. In this case, the Vault is an infrastructure component. We are simply configuring it to deploy on the cluster within your namespace. Now let's look at the deploy, Rajat.
Okay. So I clicked on the success under the deploy column, and this is the actual deployment log from of Kubernetes, of the Kubernetes pod. So here you can see the actual Kubernetes manifest and the steps that we went through to actually deploy this pod. So as you go through this, you'll be able to see there are certain lines that I can highlight that will tell you. For example, here you can see it's creating the deployment template. And in this stage, it's saying in the deployment YAML preparation is complete. So if you click on the D next to it, you can actually see the deployment manifest. So the system is actually, our platform is generating this for you, and generating it and deploying it against the cluster.
And this is very powerful, Rajat, because there are tools out there which ask you to configure this deployment template in your in your text pad, and then deploy it. And the chances of mistakes are very high. So in this case, we are masking and this is the power of a stack where we are masking the complexity of Docker, and you don't have to manually create a YAML file to deploy it. All you care about is your Git repository, your favorite language, and we take care of generating the manifest file and deploying it to the Kubernetes cluster.
That's right. So let me move on to the actual instances, right? So the next we show. So if you look at the third column here, so so far we covered the build and the deploy. The next I'm looking at the monitor. So it says, there is one instance running and it is running in green status. That means everything looks good. So I'm going to click on that, and you can see that it is up, and it shows you a bunch of the performance statistics, and you can also drill down and look at the logs. So here, this is the actual logs coming from the pod that the Vault has written. So if you click here, you can actually see the Vault log. So this is the Vault initialization log coming from the Vault pod.
And this is the add-on features of our platform. So once you build, say, AppZ platform, which kind of like sits on top of the Kubernetes platform that gets built, in this case, on AWS cloud, and this like kind of like the logging and monitoring platform, which again made out of like open source Elastic, MongoDB, and Graylog, and it makes the observability of a running app. We call it kind of the day two operations. Like you don't have to log into the pod to like look into the logs. Everything is visible from the dashboard. As a developer, as an operations team, as an audit team, you have everything visible from the dashboard. You can download these logs for troubleshooting and see that your application is correctly deployed. And again, whether it's a dev, UAT, and productions, you have access to the log to continue, come to a single, we call it a single pane of glass, this dashboard. So come to this control plane, and you have full visibility, complete life cycle of your application.
All right. So at this point, Vault is up and running, and so you can confirm by looking at this record, and you can click around and see all the pop-ups that we showed you. You should be able to do that yourself, and pull the build log, the deployment log, and the monitor and the application log. That is, in this case, it's a Vault log.
At this point, Rajat, I believe there was a question that can I deploy from GitLab or say Bitbucket? Answer is yes. Although we are not walking through that process here live, but we are our platform is integrated with GitLab. But in that case, you won't be able. Yeah, you have to fork it. You have to kind of manually bring that repo that you saw in your GitLab. You have to create a account there, and GitHub kind of gives an easy way to fork. There you create our organizations, tell us know that what organizations we have created, and we will walk you through the deployment process. So yes, answer is yes. Bitbucket, GitLab, all source control we support. It is just some of these setups you have to do manually, and not exactly the same that we are demonstrating here.
Sounds good. Yeah. So they just have. So the fork part will not work.
That's correct. That's correct. Because you have to manually set that up.
Yeah. So you have to check out or clone to a local and then push it to GitLab. And I thought, and also you might want to look at one of the tools. I think either Bitbucket or GitLab as an option to pull a repo from GitHub. So you might want to look at that option also. So you either do it manually, bring it to your machine, then push it to GitLab, or you can use the import tool. So, but our platform works. The same process will work, and also when you're using GitLab, the webhook URL is slightly different. But when you get to that point, just ping us in Slack, and we'll give you the GitLab webhook URL.
And we have clients using our platform with the Bitbucket as well as the GitLab, so there's no concern here. It is just like there are different screens and different type of setup, which if you're not familiar, contact us.
All right. So let's move on. At this point, Vault is done. So now we are moving on to MariaDB. So let's walk through these steps, Sanjeev.
So in terms of like the steps that are listed here is exactly the same. You will be just like cloning the another repo, which is the eCloud Control MariaDB master. And the master is here because we support in the master slave model. In the current workshop, we are simply demonstrating the master part. Maybe in the future workshop, we will show you that how the master slave can be set up and run in a more resilient and the fault tolerant model. Again, the webhook is a URL is exact the same that you will be setting up, and the content type you will use application JSON, and the same two changes that you made for Vault in AppZ YAML, exactly same change you will be doing for this also. And commit. Again, you will see the magic happen.
All right, I'm going to share the screen in a minute. So here is the repo. I posted the link in Slack. And I'm also going to put the webhook URL again. So what I'm going to do again is I'm going to fork. Please do look at the, once you fork it, please do look at the content of the project. So, and if you have any questions, please post the questions in Slack, and we'll be happy to answer it. So now I'm going to go to the settings, webhooks, add webhook, and paste the webhook URL, change the content type to application JSON, and add it. Going into the source, edit the AppZ YAML. So let me make the edits first, and then we can kind of walk you through the.
Yeah.
It's slightly different. I'm changing the notification and email. I'm also going to change the context to match my Git ID. And then, so Sanjeev, you want to talk about the properties here?
That's correct. And as you can see that we have, in terms of volumes, we have the data volume and the backup volume. Those things are automatically created. Sample size, we are using 5 GB. If it is production, of course, you will be making 100 or even the bigger sizes, depending on your requirement. In the property section, before property sections, let's take a look at the image template, which is at the top build part. And there you see the AppZ stacks, MariaDB master 10.4. That's the version that we are supporting. So again, the exact same process. All these changes, the manifest file will get merged with the AppZ stacks MariaDB master 10.4 and get deployed. Now let's look at the properties part a little bit more. So we are seeing that 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of like the vault entries, and those are the passwords. MariaDB, MySQL, if you're familiar with, it requires a root password. That is the one which is getting auto-generated by Vault and used on the fly. Then we have let me explain the replication. By default, we set up a replication user, and the replication user for the slave replication if you're running in the master slave model, but we have this default configuration here. And that replication user will also will also need a password, and that is also getting stored in the vault. And the third is the application user, which is the WordPress, the password. And I will show you that how the WordPress user and the database getting created via a separate like file called the setup.yaml. There, so this is a kind of like treat this as a core image, and you can set up and as like why don't you make a change and why don't you commit this change, and then we'll explain the setup.yaml as well.
Okay, so I made two changes again. The notification email is changed, and also I changed the context. So I'm going to commit now. And while that build is going on, let's look at the setup YAML.
So yeah, let's look this as closely. And most of you who are familiar with the database and say that you download MariaDB, MySQL, Oracle, Postgres, what you do is that once you download the database, install it, either the VM or container, then you log in and then start creating the different users, your application users, your application databases. We are giving you a simple declarative way to do the exact same task using the GitOps. And that's a very powerful statement. And in the enterprise, there are separate DBAs who will perform this task. And we want to kind of like eliminate that and kind of like offer you a better, faster, and simple way to do these type of highly privileged tasks, creating a database, creating a user, setting up the ACL for the user. We can do this declaratively for all the databases that we support, which includes MariaDB, Oracle, SQL Server, Postgres, you name the database. We have the template for that, and we have full kind of like the support to manage the database. And not only that, in fact, the change deployment also we support, and that is something we will demonstrate in our future workshop. But for today's workshop, as you see, that we are creating a MariaDB database, we are setting up a WordPress database within that. We are setting a WordPress user. We are entitling the WordPress user to interact with the WordPress database. And that's what you see this happening in the setup.yaml. So Rajat, I hope like let's switch to the screen, the database change deployed, and go from there.
All right, so I just want to summarize the changes. And while so here is the MariaDB record. So you can see the MariaDB deployment is done now, and it has the same. If you click on this, the success under build, you'll see the build log. And one other thing I wanted to highlight was this link in the first log line, right? So so when you click here, you can actually see the Git change that we did, right? So we keep track of that from an auditing perspective, and also troubleshooting. It will help also.
And
yeah, go ahead.
one more thing to mention here is that right now this deployment is happening in the dev environment only. And for the dev environment, there is a like no kind of like approval or workflow between the build and deployment. As you start deploying into the QA and prod, we have a inbuilt workflow which will prevent the deployment unless somebody approves it. And there are many ways you can do the approval, but we come with a like our platform comes with a workflow manager where somebody will review the change and then only approve it. This is kind of like make the deployment more like secure and more controlled. And as you can see that Rajit shared that the approver has the ability to look into the repo and see what exactly changed before approving. So the visibility and the transparency the platform brings is extremely useful for the enterprise operations.
That's right. So let's move on to the logs. So you can see these are the logs coming from the MariaDB initialization. So the key aspect that we are looking for here, sorry, I clicked on the wrong screen. So this is a record that we looked at, and So the next thing what we want to do is, so Sanjeev, can you talk about this step?
Yes. So as I explained you the setup.yaml, which means that it's not only plain MariaDB database creation containerized, we are also setting up a database, WordPress database, and setting up a WordPress user. Now this log will show you that how those things are happening, and it is visible from your log. So in case something happens, if you're not able to see that, that means like there is some issue in your deployment, and you should be able to troubleshoot that. So Rajit, why don't you search for WordPress and see?
Yeah. So I see a few lines, 4 lines of WordPress. So you can see that the WordPress user ID has been created and the permissions are granted. So
Now,
yeah, go ahead, Sanjay.
and how this magic is happening as the pod deployments are happening, all our AppZ stacks are configured with the fluentd, and those fluentd is sending the logs and all the logs and applications logs, system logs, all the logs. You can see the list of the files which are part of the log. All the logs are getting sent to Elastic. Elastic is doing the indexing of that, and Elastic and MongoDB is summarizing it, and then kind of like the gray log is making this visible from our AppG control plane we call the dashboard.
All right. So at this point, we have deployed two pods or two components into Kubernetes cluster within your namespace. So why don't we just quickly review what we have done so far, Sanjeev?
Yes. So again, as you see that you are sitting into, and I would say like between developers and operations, like some of them, some of you are application developer, some of you are operations team who are either maintaining it or changing the infrastructure configurations. And as you can see that we are deploying the Vault and MariaDB, though that may be an operation task. Maybe the WordPress deployment is a developer task, or maybe both of them are combined. So again, the DevOps model. But sitting in these positions, all you are interacting with your GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, you're kind of the source control, and through that interactions, you are making changes either in your application or you are making some configurations change against your infrastructure. And those changes, your application changes or infrastructure configuration changes, are getting pushed to AppG platform and getting merged with the corresponding stacks that you declare in your like AppG YAML, that image template part. And once it is merged, a new image gets created and stored in our registry. If you are using your as an enterprise, you are using your have own registry, Nexus, or Artifactory. We can push it to there as well as we can pull from there as well, and deploy it on the Kubernetes cluster. Now, Kubernetes cluster, I think there is another diagram where I will explain that what exactly it is and how we build that. So here is the diagram. This Kubernetes cluster is a 3-node, 3 EC2 instances running in AWS cloud. But having said that, I just want to mention that our platform, the AppG platform, and the Kubernetes cluster that we built is completely cloud agnostic. It is just that from the marketplace integration perspective, we are very close to going live and making it available to general public by kind of like the mid-February timeframe. If you want to have an access sooner before that, contact us and we can whitelist your AWS account so that you have access to our marketplace listing and you can start using the AppG platform. Now, but this platform can be built in any cloud, even your private cloud, within an hour. On the AWS marketplace, your experience would be that you simply subscribe to our AppG marketplace listing, and within half an hour, a production grade Kubernetes cluster will be ready in your account to do the exact same GitOps that we are doing right now here. Now, let me explain what this platform is. We are building a Kubernetes cluster which is upstream. We are using the microk, which is from the Canonical, and to build the Kubernetes cluster seamlessly. We don't have to know any command to build this cluster. We are building this for you, and we are supporting this also. So one master and two worker node, and this can linearly expand. This is the minimum recommended configuration, and kind of like that makes sense. Now, once the Kubernetes cluster is built, then we are layering kind of like AppZ platform so that to make the Kubernetes cluster usable. One more thing to mention is that people may have a question that can I use my GKS or like AKS or like EKS, the pre-built Kubernetes? Yes, we support that. It may not be directly available for the marketplace, but contact us if you want to use the managed Kubernetes from the cloud provider. We definitely support that. But out of the box and out from the marketplace, what we are making available right now is a a cluster getting built by our platform and managed through our platform, and a dashboard URL where you can start doing the GitOps. Now, a few things about the AppZ platform, and as you can see that our platform is the GitOps engine, the workflow, and the entire kind of like the orchestration that you see happening, the magic happening that you simply submit a change and they're getting deployed. It is our AppZ platform which is doing that. And the webhook URL is pointing to that. There you make the change, and the platform picks up the changes and deploys the workload on the one of the node. So right now, all of you have deployed Vault and MariaDB master, and those workloads are logically separated. So the entire node 01 and node 02, is logically separated for your namespace that you saw getting created, and both the applications are running on the node 01 and node 02. Again, it's Kubernetes decides which one has more space to allocate that. Uh, but once we build a cluster from our resilience perspective, we make sure that node 01, node 02 are in the multi-AG. That way, like it is more resilient, and we take care of like those resiliency and the best practices from the cloud perspective. Now, what you will also see that our AppZ dashboard that is running on the master node, and this dashboard you are interacting in terms of the observability, and you see getting your application deploy. You come there to collect the logs and collect the performance metrics. The whole life cycle of applications is being made available through our AppZ dashboard. Now, there's a bit.ly link here if you can, and this bit.ly link is pointing to our webinar where we demonstrated that within 60 minutes you can build a cluster like this in AWS Marketplace and deploy a couple of applications. So if you want to know about how this platform is getting built, go to this site, subscribe to our channel, and look at the 60 minutes video to build the cluster and deploy an application.
Yeah, I have posted that in YouTube as well as on Slack, so you can follow that that link, and you'll know how we created this cluster. And again, this cluster is running in AWS, and it's created using the AWS Marketplace of our platform.
One more thing that what we do here for the workshop, as we are in a journey to demonstrate the unique deployment, or I would say like unique set of deployments. Every week we bring up the cluster. Say Thursday, we demonstrate this, do the workshop on Friday, keep the cluster live for a couple of days, if in case people want to continue deploying over the weekend, and then take it down, bring it again. So again, these type of experience you can have within your AWS account for learning, and you can see the power of the platform. It is highly secure, resilient, and production-ready cluster, and with the GitOps. So you don't have to know the complexity of the cloud and Kubernetes to start using it. That's the kind of the power we're bringing. One more point I would like to mention before we move ahead is that you see the app URL. Now, if you are deploying a web application, and that will be happening in the case of the WordPress, you need to access your application. And that is where the magic of the ingress controller comes into the play, which we are deploying, so that your applications, web applications, be it like the Java, like Spring Boot, or in this case the WordPress, you will be getting a mail with your URL link. You click on that link, and you will see your applications going live. Whatever template you selected, whatever the theme you selected, everything kind of like going live. So you will see this happening right now within the next 30 minutes.
All right. So at this point, let's move on to deploying the WordPress instances. So Sanjeev, you want to take us through the steps? It looks similar, but there are a bit more properties and things that we need to change. So can you talk about that, please? Yeah.
That's correct. So the forking part is the same, and all of you must be getting used to that. And if you go to eCloud Control, we have several other repos also. If you want to practice that, yeah, contact us and we will help you with that. Webhook and the content type is exactly the same. Then we have a link for generate password hash, and WordPress requires an admin access. Yeah, your site will come up, but if you want to like log into the site to upload some content and make some changes, then you need to have a admin access. So if you look at the repo, we have a admin user named WP admin. You can change that username. You can set up something else also. But at the same time, we require a password to be created here. Now, although we have the auto password generation mechanism, but in that case, like you will not know what the password is. So we are giving you a simple mechanism, and which is supported by WordPress, that to generate a password hash. So we have a link there on that URL, and Rajit will be posting on the Slack channel, also the YouTube channel. Go to that link, generate like a password hash for a password which you would like to keep for your admin WordPress admin account, and post that hash in the AppZ YAML. And so that is what is the fourth part where you are posting the password hash. Again, in terms of AppZ YAML modification, your notification email, your context that you already familiar with, and admin email also is associated with properties. If you want to change that, you have options to change that. You can keep it the same also. I don't think like this email is interactive. Like you can also log in to the WordPress site with your admin account, and you should be able to change that. So this is something which WordPress supports, and we have externalized these features from kind of like making the WordPress go live in the type of like production grade application. And the last property is the password hash. If you generate, we have a sample password hash in case like, and again, one thing I would recommend is that do not use a very simple password. Try to make password complex as you keep that, and generate hash for that, because the hash for some of the popular password, I would say like test123 or something like that, is already published online. So you don't want to avoid like getting somebody log into WordPress account which you run right now, and somebody else like logs into that. So let's take a look at the.
Okay, so I'm going to follow the steps now. The first thing is forking the sample repo. So I posted the link in Slack. I'm going to fork now. Fork to my Git account. Okay, so it's forked now. So I'm going to add the webhook. Go to settings, webhook, add webhook, change the content type, and add. Now at this point, I want to go and generate. So if you look at the AppZ YAML, I need to make a few changes, 4 changes here. So I'll make the first 2 changes, then I'll go and generate the password. So I'm going to edit. I'm going to change the context to match my Git ID. So the next 2 changes are down here. So I need to change the admin email for WordPress. So this is the administrator's email. You can see the administrator's user ID we already put as WP admin. You're free to change that if you want to. Now I'm going to put my email. As the administrator's email. Now the next thing I need to change is this hash. So I'm going to use that link that I posted, and I'm going to go to that site. So I'm going to enter my password and get the hash. So you just need to enter the password here, and the hash should be generated, and you just need to copy that hash. So I'm going to hide the screen for a few seconds and generate that hash.
WordPress and many other popular sites like support this feature, and this is a secure way. Like even if like this gets checked into the Git, and if you have set up a reasonably good password, hackers will not be able to find this. So yeah, security is the paramount here. Uh, if you, yeah, there are other ways you can set up the secret in the vault in advance. That's another way. That way, we also support that. But in this case, we wanted to make sure that as we are doing the workshop, we take the full precautions to that way. Even if we display the hash, uh, nobody should be able to hack into it.
All right, so here is the password hash. I pasted it. I generated using that site, copied it and pasted it here, and I'm going to commit the change.
Yeah. And let's explain the concept of the WordPress deployment, Rajat, a little bit.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
So
yeah, go ahead.
So let's start with the AppZ YAML. I just want to explain that, and then I will explain the. So as you can see in this repo, we are using the image template WordPress 5.5. That's the version we are doing a stateful deployment, single replica. The port is getting exposed. We also have the two volumes. One is the data and the backup. The WordPress also has a persistent store for like loading the content and uploading the content, and that we are keeping a backup. Again, all the best practices for the security and resiliency we are taking care of here, and kind of like exposing it to via a simple manifest file. Now let's look at the properties section. We have enable HA no here. We support kind of like deploying against the master and the slave model. But as I said earlier, is that because of the time constraint, we will be using the master node, and that is what we have listed as the MySQL host. The other external properties are like the SQL user, the database, admin user, like admin email, and the site title. This will come on the once the site goes live, and the password key. This password key is exactly the same which got generated when the MariaDB was getting deployed. So by magic, the password is getting moved. We have support in the admin screen to do that, and so password is getting moved, and that admin password has that you generated using this link and posted it here. Can we also take a look at the content?
Yes, so content.yaml, right?
And this is where most of the changes will happen. If you are a WordPress developer, this is where you do like a lot of day-to-day changes. And what we are kind of like the supporting here is that the theme and plugins, there are other also like we have, but for the workshop sake, we just say that we are deploying the WordPress with Avada theme, and here are the list of plugins that we have. If you are familiar with the WordPress applications and you have a favorite plugin, go ahead and paste here in the same format, and those plugins will also get downloaded and deployed. So like most of these type of tasks are done by some admin in an enterprise who are maintaining the WordPress, or done manually. We are giving you an easy way to manage the task. That's the thing that we bring like here. You don't have to know the WordPress and the cloud and the whole details. You are a WordPress developer and you want to use it effectively with the simple declarative YAML concept, and we are bringing this to you.
All right, so at this point, we can go back and look at the dashboard to see if the deployment happened. All right, so
Also, we have the Spring Boot web here.
Oh, we have the bad screenshot.
Yeah, I think we have the Spring Boot. Sorry about that.
Okay, sorry about that. That is from the last webinar.
That's correct. That's correct. We forgot to change that.
All right. So here is if you go back to the dashboard, you will see the WordPress 5 record here. Again, same thing. You click on the success under builds, you will see the build log. Then you can click and get the deployment log. Now I'm going to the monitoring. It looks like it is up and it's already started collecting data. Now, if you want to see the actual log from the WordPress pod or container, here they are, and you can click and actually see what's going on. And unlike other log collectors, what we do is we actually collect logs and keep them in multiple files. So you can see all the different files from which the logs are coming. It's all here, so you'll be able to specifically go to a particular file and see the logs that they're writing. So, for example, here is so we have a log file for every activity that's happening within the pod. So we have a few sidecar containers running. So they're all writing logs into the same folder, and we're picking up and putting it in Elastic. And then we are pulling it out of Elastic using our UI. So the next step would be to grab the site, right? So
yeah,
Sanjeev, wanted to talk about it. Let me find the email.
Yeah, so you will be getting an email, and as every deployment step, you must be getting an email from the AppZ workshop, and every deployment will have that the build is successful and the deployment is successful. For the WordPress, once you get that email, and the email will be similar to what Rajit is showing in the screen. You click on the URL, and that will take you to the site which got deployed under your namespace in the Kubernetes cluster in AWS Cloud.
So let me share my screen again. So here is the email that I got. So you can see it has a lot of information about the deployment and also the URL to the WordPress that we deployed. So
in the email, we have the build ID, deployment ID, so everything is getting tracked. So that's the power we are bringing to the table. So you have an audit trail. These details are also in the build and deployment log, but we are also getting a notification. So even the 6 months down the line, if somebody says that, yeah, what got deployed, when got deployed, who approved it, you will have the complete audit trail from our observability platform. And we have also this email trail to prove that. So that's the power we are bringing, whether you are deploying in a small scale or as a large enterprise site.
All right. So let me click on this URL here. So here is the WordPress site. By default, we're using the Avada theme. And you can see, you can click around and see the actual post. That was a home page. Now I'm going to a particular post, and let me log into the dashboard. So remember, WP admin was the user ID.
And the password that you selected on that hash page, that's what you are going to provide.
So as you might be aware, the first time when you log into the WordPress dashboard, it's going to take a little bit more time than usual. So we're going to wait for that. So again, at this point, we are at this stage where we are verifying the WordPress site. I'll share the screen as soon as the dashboard shows up. So sometimes, when you go to the dashboard for the first time, it could time out, but just simply refresh and you should be able to get to the dashboard.
And yeah, WordPress takes a couple of minutes to kind of like the full the plugins, because we are mentioning about 6 or 7 plugins. So those plugins getting downloaded, applied before the full site comes up.
Okay. So the dashboard is open, and if you go under, so here I have plugins. So all the plugins that we deployed are here. So all these got deployed through this plugin section of the contents .yaml. So if you want to add or remove a plugin, you can add it here and simply redeploy it, and it will get installed in the WordPress instance. So,
This is an important point Rohit, I want to mention, because we are kind of like we are also maintaining the state of your application here. So what you deploy here is the exact deployment will happen. So if you take out the plugin from here, the plugin will go from there as well. If you add more plugins, those plugins will come in. So kind of like this is the real life experience that you want when you are running a WordPress site, and we are giving you a simple way to manage the WordPress site running in the most efficient manner on the community platform with a persistent store database behind it on in the cloud.
all right. So let's make a change. So let's say I want to. So I'm going to go back to the site. So as you can see, it came up with the Avada template. Now I'm going to change the theme. So I'm going to edit. So we have the other theme kind of commented. I'm going to uncomment that and remove the other one. And I'm also going to, so if you look at the current plugins, so we have, let's say, the query monitor, I just want to remove it. I'm just going to show you how that will work also. So let's say I want to remove query monitor. All I need to do is come and delete it here and then commit the change. So looks like everything looks good here. So I'm going to commit the change. So now this new commit is going to trigger a new deployment, and you'll be able to see that live in a minute. So let's look at the status. You can see that 5.5.3 is running now. .4 is getting built. So let's wait for that build.
And let's look into the running, and let's show that how the change again. The same part we will show them that from the Git also we can track it that what got changed.
Yeah. So I can pull the logs and I can click here, and you can see that these are the changes that was done. So here we are doing a very low-touch deployment model. At the same time, it's keeping track of everything. So if you want to recover from a bad deployment, you want to back out, everything can be done using Git. And again, it is completely secure because the cluster itself, you're not logging into the cluster. You're not giving the secrets of the cluster to anyone. No privileged access. Everything is tracked through Git, and all the visibility is provided through our platform. And again, this is running in upstream Kubernetes. We haven't altered the Kubernetes cluster in any shape. So it is running as a regular pod. All we're doing is we are a kind of a management platform sitting on the side that is helping you make Kubernetes a low-touch platform. And as you can see that so far we deployed 3 components. And we didn't do anything with Kubernetes in terms of kubectl, learning how the cluster works, how to bring up a cluster, how to deploy a pod. All that is hidden from you. Of course, you can go and learn and get to know more, but you don't have to do that to deploy an application. That's the benefit of our platform.
And Rajat, also to mention that we have a couple of clients who are live in production for more than a year using the exact same 3 these images, AppZ stacks, MariaDB, Vault, and WordPress, and they are live, and their site is being visited by millions of visitors. And they are
yeah, one of the customers have about 2 million visitors hitting their WordPress site. So it looks like the deployment is complete now. So let's go and reload the website. So let's go and see this here. So you can see that now the theme has changed, and now I'm going to go inside the dashboard and look at and see if the plugin got updated. See that the query monitor plugin is gone. So so the idea here is, again, low touch. You can manage the entire deployment lifecycle through a low touch GitOps model, and that's what our platform does. So we are at 10:26. So Sanjeev, anything else we want to add, or anything else we want to show here?
No, I think we have covered the workshop part, and hope everyone is coming along. And in case you are still not completed all the stuff, the clusters will be live for next 2 days, and our Slack channel is also available. Contact us, and we will. Our team will be helping you with the deployment and the learning part. And also, like, if you want to have the similar experience in your AWS account, or for that matter in your cloud, whatever cloud you selected, uh, contact us and we will help you accomplish the goal, deploy your application, be it WordPress, be it any Java application, be it Node. We have hundreds of images to make your life easy, and we want you to focus on your application development, developing the core IP, writing the business logic, and we take care of the complexity of the cloud, uh, the complexity of the Docker Kubernetes. These are great technologies, but they are changing very fast. We are masking the complexity so that you can make best use of them in a secure and resilient manner.
All right. And Sanjeev, sorry, we have about 3 minutes. So can we talk about our beta program and our availability on AWS Marketplace and the rate?
That's correct. Yep. So AWS Marketplace, we are going GA in February timeframe, but we are running a beta program right now. And in your AWS account, if you share the details with us, contact us, and share your AWS account ID, we can whitelist that. And in your AWS account, exact same platform, Kubernetes Cluster plus AppZ platform will be ready within half an hour with the full dashboard URL, and you can start using the GitOps. You have access to the image repository, which is AppZ Stacks. Then you can start deploying it. So you focus on your and that platform 60 days for free. So we are not charging anything. The only charges would be by the AWS infrastructure team that you would be paying anyway. And even if after 60 days, our rates would be very attractive for 7 cents per hour per node. In this case, there are 2 nodes. So you are getting a managed Kubernetes with the complete stacks and the GitOps capability with a control plane. That's the offer we have. Contact us and we can kind of walk this journey with you.
Okay. And Sanjeev, just to highlight, so right now we are in beta, so they have to share the account ID with us.
AWS account ID with us. Yeah.
Whitelist it. So that is the AWS policy. So when do you think we will go live and GA in AWS Marketplace?
So we are targeting the mid-February. So again, be on the lookout. Definitely, we will send. And since you have shared the email with us as part of this workshop, we will be definitely sending you the details when we are live. And again, at that time also, you can start using it at any time. Visit our site, contact us. We are offering a Lotus Cloud platform, and it doesn't matter if AWS, other cloud. If you are using Oracle, if you are using Google, if you are Azure, it doesn't matter to us. As you can see, our platform is cloud agnostic, and whatever cloud you choose, we will help you get on board your applications, either at the enterprise level or at the individual or like a startup. We can help you with that. Some of you, if you're watching and you are a startup and you are struggling to meet the client requirements to deploy in their cloud, we have a very unique model. So we can come in between, we can stage our AppZ platform on your client side, and with a single click of button from your Git repository as a startup, you can push the change to the client, and client can use that. We have lots of the clients who are using this model. So again, contact us and we can help you with this whole migration process.
All right. Thanks again for everyone joining. So we will continue in Slack, and also we'll keep the cluster running. please do deploy it and reach out to us if you want help, and we'll be happy to support you. And also look at our previous webinars. Last week we covered a Spring Boot deployment, and next week we are going to cover Python development to create microservices. So please do follow us, and any questions, please use our Slack channel. It'll be open, and we'll be happy to answer the questions. Thanks, Sanjeev, and thanks for our AppZ crew. Please continue to interact with us in the Slack, and we'll help you out in setting up and completing your workshop. And any questions, please do contact us. Go ahead, Sanjeev.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys. I'm going to go finish now, and let us know if you have any questions. Thank you. Bye.